What's going on, everyone? Today we have 3 reasons why location is the most nonsensical, overrated idea when opening up a restaurant. So, before we kick it off and get into the reasons, I'd like to go over just a common sensical idea for you. Orlando is the most flown into airport in the whole entire world. Do you know how much they have going on for them? Just one thing: Disney World, right? So, people aren't going there because they have a ton of things. They have one amusement park, right? And so they went in the middle of Florida, in the middle of nowhere, Florida, and built something where everyone around the world travels to just for that one idea, right? They didn't open it up in Times Square, which is the most expensive piece of property in real estate in the whole entire world. So, and when you go to Times Square, people aren't traveling there for the food. It's a over wasted, expensive piece of property for no good reason. So, with that in mind, and I'll throw another idea at you, another concept. Diners, drive-ins, and dives. You ever hear of the show? Well, this guy goes to diners in the middle of nowhere, right? They're paying a fraction of the cost for rent as opposed to the restaurants in Times Square, and they're getting on national TV exposure. So the location in which you operate is oftentimes way too much consideration and investment goes into. So number one, online visibility is way more significant than the physical location that you're in, right? We discussed diners, drive-ins, and dives is getting people because of word of mouth and their online exposure. It's not because Guy Fieri drove by in the middle of Nebraska, a diner, and said, wow, that place looks special. They must have paid so much for real estate there. They must be producing really quality menu items, right? That doesn't make sense. You have Infatuation, Eater, all of these food restaurant review newspapers. They're hearing about these restaurants based on Instagram and word of mouth, right? They're not driving through Times Square saying, "Hey, what's happening in New York? What are the good restaurants I need to go to?" So, number one, online visibility and your online presence is way more impactful than your where you choose to open up a business. This goes into number two, which is foot traffic really that important? Well, nobody walks around anymore, right? They Google search or they find it on Instagram and they place their order online. They drive up to the window or the front door, grab their stuff and go home. That's the way the world is operating right now. So why, if the town you want to open your restaurant in has a really popular, expensive strip mall, right? And down the street is a little bit of a smaller, not as popular strip mall. Is it really going to make that big of a difference to your exposure, to your awareness in the town? I bet the house it doesn't, right? But it will save you thousands upon thousands of dollars monthly and ultimately annually. So that's another one. Foot traffic isn't as important. And if you have good signage, you're going to get the drivers passing you by and build their awareness just as much, right? Being around the corner instead of on the main road, paying twice, 3 times, 4 times the price. Okay, so and ultimately, business's goal is to be around for a long period of time, right? So when you open up your small restaurant, it could be a massive chain, but when you're opening up restaurants, the more fixed costs, the more expensive the rent is. That is something that's gonna quickly, bury you if you're not up for that challenge. So, don't forget the goal is to be around for a while. And as we've seen these past 2 years, the ups and downs in the market and in the world from coronavirus and everything else, lowering your fixed costs will just be more favorable to you. By the way, look for drive-ins, drive-throughs to become way more popular. We've seen them slow down over the last decade. Those are going to be skyrocketing, I predict, over the next few years. So, you don't have to be in a strip mall to have a small space with a drive-up window. I think that could be really massive for restaurants opening up in the next couple of years. The third reason, accessibility trumps anything else, right? So we had a restaurant in a busy downtown. We had loyal customers. Every time they came into the door, the first thing they said when greeting us was, "Oh, it's such a pain in the ass to park here. If I didn't love you guys so much, I wouldn't have been here. I can't imagine how many customers you're losing." Right? It goes right through you. And if we had that same restaurant on the outskirts of the city, one, the parking would have been much better. So instead of, people could have pulled up, got a parking space easily, ran in, grabbed the food, and went home and continued enjoying their day and their lives. But instead, people were driving around 10, 20, 30 minutes to try to find a parking spot so they could come and we could feed them. I mean, you're not that special, right? Like, we weren't that special to ask of people an extra 30 minutes of their precious time to drive around and try to find a parking spot. So really I think it's crucial to be either on a side street or in a parking lot where, it doesn't get so overpacked that no one can find a parking spot. I think it's one of those yogiisms that said, that place is so busy, no one goes there anymore, right? So it's that is the idea of accessibility is crucial when picking a restaurant, right? The restaurant hospitality industry is really the general concept in the simplest of terms is, I just want something easy and simple and nourishing and satisfying, right? And to go and put yourself in the Times Square of whatever city you're in is going to be asking a lot of your customers, and it'll impede on that hospitality of easy and simple and satisfying, right? So those are a few things to consider when picking your first or next location. Is location's a little overrated, and just because it's a high rent price doesn't mean it's the right price. Hope that helps.